Hi again, here we are to talk about our WordPress theme, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to work on the fonts. And I like the fonts I have here, but I feel this heading is a little too heavy. And originally when I imported Lato font here, I imported the light 300, the normal 400, and the 700 bold font styles. So, I'm right now what you're seeing is the 700, the bold. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to switch the headings to use this light 300 weight. Okay, so that's pretty easy to do as long as you've imported this particular these particular weights, right? What you can do is you can just go to your style sheet, and now these are my headings, right? So here I have font family Lato sans serif. And what I'll do is I'll say, font weight 300, right? So I'll just put the number there, and then we'll save it. Let me make sure it updates here in fetch, and then I'll refresh. And there we go. So now I got my lighter weight font. I think that looks a little nicer. And then the next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to set a base font size and line height and that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to set the font size here to maybe I'll do it font size 18 pixels. I've already got line height 1.5, right? And I think that's pretty good. So that should be everybody, all the things should inherit from the body. So that should be the base font size. This might cause a little bit of trouble, with some things. So let me save that. And you can see, features. This is a little bigger here. So this is wrapping onto the next line. So I'll probably have to go in and adjust the width of my menu. So you can see down here, I've got the menu area, right? And I used 10 M's for the menu. Maybe I'll make that 9 M's. Okay, so I got to change that in these 3 locations here. Okay, so this one, 9 M's, 9 M's, and 9 M's, right? So we'll save that, and we'll see if that helps us out. Oh, so there we go. So so that's looking okay. The problem was this guy was a little too wide, so he was wrapping onto the next line. So now you'll notice there's a lot of space here, right? And this doesn't quite align. So you could do a lot of things with margin at the top and bottom and kind of arrange that. But I think a safer bet at this stage is to make sure that all of our fonts share a common line height, and that we set the margin bottom on all of the general tags. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a style here for all of my general tags. So I've already done it here for all of the H1 through 6, right? But then I'm going to do the paragraph, the UL, the OL, the block quote, the what else? Maybe the code tag, the pre-tag. I can't remember all the tags, but maybe I'll probably think of one later. But anyway, but we'll do this, right? Maybe I should do the small tag too. The big tag. I don't know. Anyway, nobody ever uses those anyway. But so, just all these guys, right? And what I want to do is I want to say margin top of 0 and margin bottom of, let's do 1.5 M. Okay, so I'm hoping that's going to match my line height here, right? And then hopefully that'll even everything up a little bit. So let's save that and make sure it updates and then refresh it. Oh, now we're going. Everybody's kind of lined up. So what I did is I removed the margin from the top of all the common tags, and then gave them all a consistent bottom margin. Okay, so now hopefully everybody evens up. This has a little bit of problem. I want to add a little more space there, but we'll take care of that later. And then these all look pretty good. So let's also do a little bit of work on the footer, right? So the footer looks okay, but these bullet points kind of bug me, and the way that this indents is maybe not looking that great. So and you can handle this any way you like. Here's just a strategy for working with the footer. I'm going to go into my footer PHP, and at the bottom here, you can see this whole area is the footer from this grid container down to this closing div. And I have a div here, and I actually gave this the ID name footer, right? But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to move that ID up to this, parent container here. So now everybody inside here is the footer. And now what I can do is anything that begins with the ID name footer, I can use the descendant selector, and then I can target any of these elements inside here, okay? So, and then we're going to work on this. We got to do a couple more things to this dynamic sidebar to really make this work better. So anyway, so I've got that. And then what I'm going to do is that really won't change anything here, like you won't see anything different. But what I want to do is I want to examine these footer areas, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to control click on this and inspect it with the inspector. And what you're going to see here is you're going to see that each one of these footers is made up of a div containing an li tag. And so the problem here is when the dynamic sidebar generates this list, it makes it an li tag, and then it puts a nested UL inside it. And that's sort of a problem. It's not really affecting us here, but the thing is, really these li tags should be inside a UL for us to be totally valid HTML. Okay, that's the rule, right? And you can see in here there's an li, each one of these, like this is the second grid 25, but it's got an li. So what we should really do to make this, really valid is we should make a UL and then close it here with the closing UL. And then we should do the same on all of these, right? So I'll put another one here, and then I'll close it, and then I'll put another one here, right? So I'm just surrounding this tag with dynamic sidebar because this is where that li is generated, right? So what I want to do is I want to make sure that this guy is inside a UL. I suppose this thing could have been the UL, but it's kind of nice to have a div element to put these grid classes on rather than putting it directly on the UL, right? So anyway, I'm going to do it to the fourth one here. And there we go, right? So we'll save that. And then I'll make sure it updates. And then we'll go back to the page here and refresh. Right? And there we go. So now that looks a lot better, right? And actually now the bullet points are looking correct because this should be a nested one, so it should show a different bullet. But now we've got the grid 25 here, and when I open that up, I've got a UL, and inside the UL I've got my LI, and then inside that there's another H2 and a UL, right? So that's looking good. So now let's get rid of these bullets. I don't really like the bullet there, right? So what I'm going to do is go to my style sheet, and then I have some area here with my footer styles, so I'll find that. I like to keep everybody, maybe I don't have an area with the footer. I should make one, right? Let's make one. So if I have one in there that I didn't notice, I'll just move this later. But for right now, we'll say footer down here. And then we know that everything in the footer is inside the ID footer. So if I want to, style all of the lists inside the footer, right, which are all these, each one of these things is a list, right? So as long as I, begin with footer, I'm only going to be targeting the ULs inside footer, okay? So I'm going to target the UL. I'm going to say footer LI to target the LI. And what I'll do is I'll say, margin 0, padding 0, list style none. And you could change this too. You could set up whatever margin and padding works for you. I'm going to just remove it all, and then I can go back later and add it. If you have a reset style sheet, that would have gotten rid of it. But I want to keep, like, doing it this way. I'll be keeping the margin and padding on the ULs and LI tags that are not in the footer. So when I have a post and I want to add a UL in there, it'll have its margin and padding, but then the ones in the footer don't get it, because I've got this. I'm targeting it through the ancestor, right? So let's save that. Make sure it gets updated there, and then refresh here. Oh, there we go. That looks a lot cleaner, right? Maybe I'll add. I kind of want to add an underline under these things, right? So. And there's a few ways you can do this. Just remember that, this guy is the, what is he? He's like inside these div class grid 25, and then it's UL, LI, and then this thing has an H2, and it has class widget title. So each one of these will be widget title, right? So, WordPress is supplying this class name. And you can't always be sure what these are. So, the best way to do it is to, examine them in the inspector like I'm doing here, right? So this is widget title there. So maybe I'll copy that name. And then I'll go into my style sheet here, and I can say, dot widget title. And then we'll say border, bottom, 1 pixel, solid. We'll just do black for now, right? So I'll save that. Let's go back and reload our page. Oh, there we go. So that looks pretty good, right? So anyway, so hopefully that gets you started on styling, your fonts and your, the footer, and kind of organizing your styles for your footer, right? So there's just a couple font ideas for you, okay? So thanks for watching, and I hope that's helpful.